All right. So before the media gets a hold of this and starts twisting shit around till kingdom come, I just wanted to put a quick video out there. The shooting in Maine, I'm not saying it wasn't an absolute tragedy. Absolutely. Shouldn't happen. The families that were affected, it was a tragedy. You can't put it any other way. But before people start saying it's this crazy veteran with an AR that had PTSD and start twisting the storylines around to making veterans who struggle with PTSD look bad, I just wanted to get something out there to try to educate people. This guy, you can look this stuff up. This guy was not a combat veteran. The shooter was not a combat veteran. I'm pretty sure I saw on his records that he has never been deployed. And he said he was hearing voices. Veterans that I've worked with that have PTSD never talk about hearing voices. And they're more worried about becoming a statistic of the 22 a day for the veteran suicide rate, not going out and shooting up a school or shooting up a public area, anything like that. So that's the first thing I wanted to put out there, that this guy was not struggling with PTSD. This guy is not the norm whenever it comes to veterans that are struggling with whatever they're struggling with. This guy, it's said that he was struggling with schizophrenia, which is, I'm not a doctor, but most likely where the voices came from. And that's where this whole thing started to stem from. He talked about shooting up his unit. The Army actually had him, people in his unit had him picked up. I believe it was the state police that picked him up, and he was evaluated in the hospital, and he was let go. So that's on them. That's their fault that they did not listen to this guy, take him seriously. A severe lack of judgment on their part. But again, this is not a veteran that was struggling with PTSD. This guy is not the norm whenever it comes to those things. Also, what I don't want to see is I don't want to see all those things be pulled into a ball and presented by the news, because they're full of shit. I don't care who you listen to. They all have their own agendas. I don't want to see them put it in a ball. I don't want to see politicians put this shit in a ball and use this to put veterans in a bad light, especially veterans that are on disability, have PTSD on their records, and try to use this to take away those veterans' gun rights. Because let's be honest, if shit pops off in America, veterans and rednecks are mainly the people you want to have the weapons, because they're the ones that are willing to stand up. I'm not saying other people aren't willing to. I'm just saying your vast majority of the people that are going to say, oh, hell no, we're standing up, we're fighting back, they're going to be veterans. If they use this to try to take veterans' gun rights away that are medically diagnosed through the VA or third-party provider with PTSD, that's bad. They're trying to push an agenda and a narrative that just is not true. Yes, this guy did have an AR. Yes, he did have a high-capacity magazine. And that sucks, because you have one person who's suffering from schizophrenia, who's been talking about doing something like this, who is medically evaluated, and he is ruining it for everybody, because we all know how the media outlets work, and we all know how politicians work whenever it comes to seeing something like this, and how they want to take an agenda and push it through and point the finger and pin it to an event like this. Most veterans who own weapons and most people who legally acquire weapons, they do not do this. If this happened with most people that legally acquire a weapon, veteran or civilian, there would be shootings everywhere, all the time, all day. 99.9% of the people that I know that get weapons are getting them to protect themselves and to protect others. Because the people I know in that scenario, if they're not caught with the first volley, they are 100% taking cover in that scenario with an active shooter, and they're figuring out how to save the lives of those around them. That's why most Americans carry weapons. Again, it's because they want to protect themselves, and if they're in the situation to, you damn sure better believe most of those people are going to protect others as well. We're not acquiring weapons to carry out a negative mission. It's just not the truth. And if the news starts pushing that narrative and everything, do not pay attention to it, because that's bullshit. They're trying to push their own agenda, and they're trying to pin everything on this one aspect of this veteran who was legitimately certifiably crazy. Not from combat, not from PTSD, just a complete nut job. And I really hope they don't try to push it to where veterans, disabled veterans, they either make it way harder for veterans to get ammunition, or they try to take their gun rights away, or they just try to really restrict their gun rights. So I just wanted to put that out there real quick before the media starts pushing all that bullshit, so that there could be a clear understanding from somebody who's worked with veterans that struggle with PTSD, that that is not on anybody's mind that I have personally ever talked to. And if that narrative starts to get out there, you can call bullshit on it, and you can start going on with your day and just turn the TV off, because that's horseshit.